if you'd unmute.
Thank you, Stephen. My name is Jim, and I am an alcoholic, and I have not had a drink all day today. That's it. That's the most important part of this whole gig. I'll tell you right now. And oh, one more thing, just so you don't get mad at me, I wanted to remind everybody that you have a choice, right? You don't have to stay here. You can get on TV because on ABC tonight is the current edition of The Bachelorette, right? You might have forgotten that. So go ahead. You won't hurt my feelings at all. All right. At any rate, when I first came into this program, when I first came into Alcoholics Anonymous, they told me to sit down and shut up, put the cotton in your ears, and do what you're told. They were very, very, very gentle with me, and that's exactly what I needed. I came to this program at a pretty young age. I came into the meetings when I was 27 years old, and I drank for 3 more months after that. And I stopped drinking just after I was 28. Okay. I will be 89 years old in January. So I haven't had a drink all day today, and I've been able to say that for a little over 60 years worth of days. And, but I still work this program one day at a time. And somewhere along the line, I think I read it in this character's Ponderables one time, the record for sobriety is 24 hours. I believe that very, very much. Okay. Let me tell you a little bit about my drinking, then I'm going to tell you what happened to me, and tell you a little bit about what life is like now for me. I had my first drunk on October 31st, 1947. That's a very special day because there's a young lady on this screen right now who was also born on that day, but she doesn't remind me very often about how much older I am than she is. I appreciate that very much. At any rate, went to a Halloween party at a guy's house. This was right after World War II. And everybody on, not everybody, but most people on Long Island who had coal bins converted their heating systems over to oil or natural gas. And so the coal bin was turned into a rec room. And that's where we were. We were downstairs in this guy's rec room having a nice Halloween party, 14, 15 years old. Okay? And I was dancing with a girl, and I had great ideas. I knew she liked me. I could tell the way she snuggled up. It was great. Oh my God. All right. I started to have ideas, I got to tell you right now. Then she was snuggling back up. I think she was having some ideas too, but all of a sudden the music stopped. And while the music stopped to change the record, I looked up and on the sill, just keep in mind, this is down in the basement now, so you can see up on the woodwork up there. There was a brown bag, and I reached up and I took that brown bag, and I looked at it and oh, it was what was a half a pint in there. And this guy's father had made his own home brew. I didn't know that. I didn't know what was in there, but I uncorked it, unscrewed it. Actually, it was a cheap bottle. I started sniffing it. It smelled pretty good. So I took a sip. Woo, it went down nicely. It felt great. Oh, Jesus, that was good. I finished that bottle right then and there. And I got drunk, and that's all I got that night. I got smashed. And that was the beginning of another 15 years worth of alcoholic drinking. Alcohol got in my way, right? It prevented me from doing what I wanted to do, no matter where it was. I'm not going to drag you through every step of my drinking, right? I know there are people who consumed a whole hell of a lot more than I did, drank for many, many years more than I did. But the point is that I drank enough to damn near kill myself. Okay. Let's start with Memorial Day of 1960. Now, I'd been smashed all week long, the whole month long before that entire year. Memorial Day weekend, I came home and I brought 2 bottles with me in case company showed up. But I had to sample those bottles before no company ever came, by the way, right? I took care of those bottles. And I was dead drunk one evening. And the next morning, I decided to cook hamburgers for the kids. And so I got out there and I got drunk again, drinking, making the fire and cooking the hamburgers for the kids. And then my wife was mad at me because she says, we have a party to go to up the street, and there was another barbecue taking place, and you can't go sleep it off. So I went and I slept it off. And then I woke up, and the wife and the kids were gone up the street to this barbecue. And I thought to myself, I need to contribute to this event that's taking place up there. I still have all these hot coals sitting out there in my grill. I ought to take them up to Roy's house, and so he won't have to go through the trouble of starting a fire. Wonderful idea, Jim. So I went and I got a galvanized bucket, and I put those hot coals in the galvanized bucket, and I put that bucket in the back seat of my car. I got up the street, and people met me screaming, and leading that pack of screamers was my wife, because the back seat of my car was on fire. And Roy, the owner of the house, came out with a fire hose and put it out. And my wife dressed me down terribly because, I had embarrassed her in front of the whole neighborhood and whatnot. I got mad. I didn't hit her or anything like that, but she had some nerve, right? Here I was trying to do a favor for a neighbor, right? And she was embarrassing me in front of everybody that was there. Oh, Jesus. I got drunk again. I got drunk 3 times that day within a 24-hour period. Couldn't tell you a thing about that barbecue at Roy's house. I was blacked out. And from that point on, I don't think I drew too many sober breaths or dry breaths. I was never sober for the rest of that year. I spent something like 70 days at home on Long Island in an uninsulated attic in the Cape Cod. Now, my job permitted me to cover my tracks, so I thought. More about that later. I was up there in that attic drinking, smoking cigarettes, wet in the bed, beat up old mattress I'd found somewhere and put it up there on the floor. And it was an absolute mess. My wife would leave the house. If the doorbell rang while she was gone, I wouldn't go and answer it because I didn't want anybody to see me like that. I would get to work from time to time. I would do some of the things I was supposed to do, but I drank most of that summer. And on into the fall. I remember that year, the Yankees were in the World Series. And it was the 7th game of the World Series. And I was a big Yankee fan, being the good New Yorker that I was at the time. And all of a sudden, I don't remember exactly which inning it was. I think it was probably the 9th inning. A guy named Bill Mazeroski, who was the Pirates' second baseman, he get up and hit a home run that won the game for the Pirates. The Yankees lost. Oh my God. I had no choice except to drown my sorrows. Oh, Jesus. And I'm sitting there. My then 4.5-year-old son came to me and says, "Daddy, Mommy said that dinner is ready." And I says, "Get the hell out of here. I got bigger problems than that. The Yankees lost." And I swatted him. I didn't go and have dinner. I continued to drink. I mean, was there something wrong with my drinking? I think maybe there might have been. Spent that summer and the fall drinking. However, long about the end of October, I ended up having an accident on Jericho Turnpike. Had a brand new car, 1960 Chevrolet station wagon, one of those powder blue jobs. It was a real beautiful automobile. Paid $1,800 for that thing, me in the bank, right? And I wrecked it. Well, they ended up repairing it. They did it was $1,600 worth of damage on that $1,800 car. They fixed it. But I got home, somebody picked me up and brought me home. My wife had heard about the accident. She met me at the door. She was all dressed. The 2 little boys we had were all dressed, and she had another one in the oven, right? And she said, "Unless you go to Alcoholics Anonymous, I'm going to leave you." Well, that wouldn't do. I was not going to let people know that Jim's wife left him. It would be all right if Jim left his wife. You see, it was an ego thing involved here. I could not let that woman leave me. So I went to Alcoholics Anonymous, and I didn't pay attention to a damn thing. Right? I covered my tracks. The first meeting I went to, they had signs up on the wall. Think, easy does it. First things first, live and let live. Oh, this is ridiculous. This is childish. I'm an adult. I'm a college graduate. I got a great job in Midtown Manhattan. I mean, good God in heaven above, they can't be handing me this crap, right? I suspected there was going to be a sign up there that said, early bird gets the worm. A stitch in time saves 9. All right. That's the way I thought. There was something wrong with my thinking. But I needed to get my car back out of the repair shop. And it came back in about 10 days. And I ended up celebrating the fact that my car was now repaired. And you can guess how I celebrated. And I got drunk all over again. But about 3 days after that, I promised my wife, I'm never, ever going to take another drink again as long as I live. Okay, never again. That's it. I'm all done. And I meant it. I really and truly meant it, because I love this woman. We had dated in high school. We'd been married. We were committed to one another. As a matter of fact, it turned out we stayed married for 45 years until she was widowed some 20 odd years ago. Till I was widowed some 20 odd years ago. But I went to work that morning. I parked my car at the railroad station, my brand new repaired car at the railroad station. And later that night, my wife picked me up with a taxi because I had called her from the bar across the street from the railroad station. And what had happened was I had gotten drunk that day. Can you believe that? I mean, I promised I wasn't going to drink, and I didn't want to take a drink.
Yeah, I'll be able to find out. Okay.
However,
Yeah.
when I got to work, I knew that the guys are going to be going to lunch, and they were going to be going to places where they drank. I couldn't go with them because I didn't drink anymore. I had sworn off that morning. I promised myself, I'd taken a pledge. I wasn't going to drink anymore. Well, hey, I can't hurt their feelings by telling them I'm not going to go to lunch with them. I can't hurt their feelings by telling them I'm not going to drink with them. I know what I'll do. You sober up on Bloody Marys, right? So I ordered a Bloody Mary. That was at noontime. And it was like midnight then when I came to enough, all right, to call my wife to come and get me because my car was stolen. Oh my God. So she came, got a cab, came, picked me up, and I'm bitching to her about having killed somebody. She's saying, shut up, shut up. Well, I kept yakking about killing this guy. What guy? The guy in the bar, right? So we got home. 10 minutes after we're in the house, the cops show up because the cabbie believed me. And the cops wanted to find out really what had happened, who got hurt, who got killed and whatnot. And I started giving them the servant of the people business. Hey, don't you bother me, all right? I'm a taxpayer. Go find my car. They realized right away what was going on, that I was drunk, all right? And that I was out of my mind and that nobody was killed. Next day, I found the car. Then I called the cops again because it was up to me, the taxpayer, the citizen, to find the car. You guys couldn't do it. You see, the car was parked in front of the bar where I'd left it. But again, I'd been blacked out and I didn't know where the hell the damn thing was. So I gave the cops a hard time. That wasn't very smart because they decided to really check into this thievery. And they dusted the inside of that vehicle with fingerprint dust. I never was able to get that fingerprint dust out of that car forever and ever and ever and ever. And I stayed sober after that, I stayed sober for about 39 days. And I went back to meetings and I thought I was listening. I tried to use the program and I thought I had it worked out pretty good. I was supposed to be in charge of a sales meeting. I was a sales promotion manager for the company in the Northeastern region. And went into a hotel in Midtown Manhattan. I believe it was the Barbizon Plaza Hotel. And I had done all the planning for this meeting. I had put it all together, and it was extremely well organized, and I had not had a drink for 39 days. I felt good. The boss was happy with me. The wife was happy with me. The kids were happy with me. The dog wasn't biting me. I was happy with me. And I walked into that hotel, registered, and the next thing I did was I gravitated right over here to the bar. I ordered a double vodka martini with a twist. Oh my gosh, the first alcohol I'd had in over a month, and it went down. It just felt so good. It warmed my chest and went out through my shoulders and my arms, and bartender, let's have another one. I did not attend that sales meeting. I stayed drunk, blacked out for 3 days in that hotel room. I somehow got home, had my very last drink at the bar across the street from the railroad station, where my wife came and picked me up again. It's the Red Top Grill. I'd started out drinking in Midtown Manhattan at a fancy hotel bar, and I finished up my drinks drinking Kinsey Silver label at 25 cents a shot in a bar with sawdust on the floor. And I was the only guy in the room with a suit on, 3-piece suit, a fedora, and I was a mess. And I got home, called Alcoholics Anonymous. John Boyd and Harry Briggs came to see me, and they told me something that was very unique. If you do not take the first drink, you won't get drunk. Why didn't anybody ever tell me that? I heard it many times before at meetings, but I didn't listen to it. It never penetrated. If I did not take that first drink, I won't get drunk. And I have not had that first drink to this day. It's absolutely amazing how this whole thing worked out. I started going to meetings. They gave me a broom. They taught me how to sweep the floor, empty the ashtrays, get there early, set up, pick up a guy named Charlie Lynch and take him to the meetings. Charlie didn't have a car. I learned a lot from Charlie. Charlie had been a guest of the state in mental institutions 16 times. I'd never been in a mental institution. I'd never been arrested, never been in jail. I learned a lot about how to stay sober from this guy. I identified with him. He helped me set up the room. I helped him set up the room. And then I graduated. They said, now you're ready to make coffee. I started making coffee. And then after not quite 90 days, I got a phone call from my sponsor, and he said, I'm picking you up early tonight. Why? Because you're going to make a 12-step call. What's that? You'll find out. We got to this guy's house. We talked with him. Joe, this guy's name was John D. And Joe, my sponsor, told his story to John. And I told him a little bit about what happened to me. And John said, that sounds pretty good. I think I need to do what you guys are doing. How do I start? And Joe says, you need a sponsor to begin with. And John says, how do I do that? And Joe points at me. I'm not quite 90 days sober. Joe points at me and he says, Jim is your sponsor. My God. I think John died last year. I'm not sure. I lost touch with him. He was not well, but I do believe that he and I stayed sober together for a long time. Okay. The point being that I was told to get started right away trying to give this program away. I've heard people say, oh, I'm not ready to do this. I got to be sober, 10 years or 20 years in order for me to sponsor somebody. BS. I can learn to this day a heck of a lot from people with not much time on the program. Right? It's what you think and how you do it. It's important. I made a lot of 12-step calls right at the beginning. There were no rehab centers back then. You got a phone call at all times of the day and night. You made these calls. John D was the first guy we made a call on. Made another call on the guy about May of that year. I got sober in February 17th, 1961. In May, I got a phone. No, I think it was June. Okay, I'm thinking about what I was doing when I got the phone call, and I knew what trees were in bloom at that point. And we got to go make a call on the guy. And John Boyd picked me up. He's the guy who made the last 12-step call on me. We went down, and to call on this guy. And curiously enough, this guy was living in a dingy apartment above the Red Top Grill, which was the place where I'd had my last drunk. How about that? Okay. We talked to this guy, brought some literature, told him what happened to me, how AA had kept me sober. John told him the same thing. We said, you want to come to a meeting with us tonight? It's a Saturday night. Okay, there's a meeting in town. Oh, no. Just leave this literature here. I told my wife I was going to contact AA. I did. You've told me enough that I can talk to her about it, and I'll show her this literature and I'll be fine. Okay, we left. Next day was a Sunday afternoon, and I'm cutting the grass, and I hear this explosion up the street. Oh, I knew it was a car accident. I ran up the street, and lo and behold, there's a woody station wagon up against a telephone pole. And then across the street from that was I think it was like a 39 or 40 Pontiac or Buick, something like that. It was turned upside down. And I got there. I was the first one on the scene. And two or three of the other neighbors got there, and they said, hey, I see something. I think there's somebody under that car. There was a little child in the back seat crying. They pushed the car up. I crawled under the car, and I grabbed hold of this child that was under there. And the child was dead. And I got him out. And while I was doing that, others got the driver and the little boy in the back seat out. The little boy in the back seat was okay. The driver had a piece of windshield glass stuck in his forehead. I took one look at that guy. He was the guy we had made the 12-step call on the night before. He was fortunate because he killed one of his children. Well, he died, so he didn't have to live with that knowledge. He died while he was right there on the ground by us. That made a big impression on me. There, but for the grace of God, could have been me. Okay. I kept going with a lot of activity in the program that very first year. I was a commuter on the Long Island Railroad. There was a bar car. I think it was the third car from the engine. Used to drink in that bar car many times on the way home. But in the morning, they turned things around and they served coffee in the bar car going into the morning. And lo and behold, I found that that's where there was an AA meeting every morning, 5 days a week, going into New York City. Wow, what a great thing. So that gave me my, heads up on doing 90 and 90. That first year, I probably did 180 and 90, something like that. I got involved making coffee, 12-step calls, everything like that. They told me that I had to give this thing away to keep it. Somebody suggested to me that, there's only one meeting a night on Long Island on the North Shore. That's all there was. Long Island's 120 miles long. So 2 or 3 other guys and myself, we started a meeting in Northport. There was a men's group, the North Shore Men's Group. I don't know if it's still going or not. I wasn't even sober a year yet. Just like I wasn't even sober very long when I made my first 12-step call. Helped me stay sober, all this stuff. Worked good. I was told when I came into the program that there's no cure for alcoholism. I was told that, hey, I haven't had a drink all day, but I'm not recovered. I'm still recovering. The book says we recover from the alcohol, but there's 2 parts of that first step, powerless over alcohol. Okay, as long as I don't take that drink, I'm not powerless over it. My life had become unmanageable. Why did my life become unmanageable? That's what I had spent the entire time I've been in the program since, trying to uncover and do something about. Okay. I'd been trying all along to find out what was wrong with me, but I couldn't get anywhere. It was a puzzle to me because I'm a very, very intelligent guy. I want you to clearly understand that. There's a few idiots on this group, on this meeting now, who would kind of question that. They think I'm a jerk, all right? Of course, they may be right, but that's another subject. We'll discuss that tomorrow morning, Patrick. At any rate, they suggested to me that what I needed to do was to ask somebody else for help, like a higher power, right? Well, they said there's a step called came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Wait a minute, I'm not insane. Woo. Friend of mine in the program, contemporary of my father, sober about 4 years at the time, said, this has nothing to do with insanity. Well, what are you talking about? The step says, he says, what is the step? Well, the step says, come to believe it. Hold it. The key is coming to believe. It's not, I did believe, or I used to believe. It's an ongoing process of coming to believe. Oh, in a power greater than myself. Okay. Give it a shot. What do I do? Well, make a decision to turn your will and your life over to care of that power. Well, how do I do that? Okay. I mean, I tried, I used to pray a lot, and I'd go to church and I'd make novenas and I'd talk to the priest and I would do, I would do all kinds of things. I would say the rosaries and I'd give stuff up for Lent. I tried giving up booze for Lent a couple of times. That didn't work. They said, just try. They gave me a book that said, it was the 12 steps and 12 traditions. I said, read this and underline it. When stuff seems important to you, underline it again. And I discovered that that was true because it said that was all I had to do was try. As a matter of fact, and you can test me on this, in that chapter 3 of the 12 and 12, about the third step, the word try or trying, or make an attempt, or make an effort is mentioned 13 times. Mike King is going to check that tomorrow and let me know if I'm right. 13 times. Okay, well, now what do? I got to take some action on this. They said, "Oh, you're trying to turn your life and your will over to the care of God. The best way you do that is go on to the next step. What's the next 4? Right? It is searching and fearless moral inventory of myself. Well, how do I do that? They said, okay, when a shopkeeper does his inventory, he doesn't take an inventory of what used to be in there or what was going to be there next year. He takes the inventory of what's on the shelf today, right now. Ooh. And he says, and God really doesn't care about some of the specific things you did. He's more interested in knowing what motivated you to do some of these things. Like what? They threw me back into that 12 and 12 again. And they suggested I take a serious look at a thing called the 7 deadly sins, otherwise known as character defects: pride, greed, lust, anger, gluttony, envy, and sloth. Oh my. Well, what does that have to do with the 4th step? Joe said, we're going to do this a little differently. I want you to get 7 pieces of paper. Okay. At the top of the first one, you write pride. Next one, greed, and so forth, okay? And then write about how you are under the subject of pride today, right now, when you get around to doing this. It took me quite a while to get around to doing it, but one morning I got up and I did exactly what he told me. I wrote about how I was as a human being that day under the aegis of pride. What was my ego doing to me? Greed, gluttony, lust. Ooh, I like that one. Yeah. And I was told that if I do that, I'll find out what the nature of my wrongs are. Okay. So I give it a shot. Yeah. In taking this 4th step, I talk about certain things that had taken place in my life that were the result of one or more of these character defects. And I usually had more than one working at any given time. And, oh, I'm telling you, I uncovered a lot of crap about me, and it's still there. It is still there. I found out, sitting down with my sponsor and doing the 5th step, that he had a lot of the same things going for him that I had, a lot of the same character defects right then and there. And Joe was sober 7+ years at that time. My God, you can't stay sober 7 years. He was sober 7 years, right? And he had the same character defects I did. And they were not ruling his life to the extent that they had been. But he says, I'm working on it. I'm working on it. And to this day, I know what he was talking about because, hey, I still have those character defects. They're still sitting on my shoulder. Okay. I'm a sitting duck. Okay, this John Barleycorn is sitting there and he's saying it's all right to let your ego run wild. It's okay to lust after that good looking gal with the short skirt. Okay. All right. It's all right to order more than you can consume. Right. It's there. Right. But I know it now and I'm able to, sometimes I buy into this crap, right? But I need to tell you this, that every time I tell myself that I've got pride or any character defect under control, I'm lying to myself. And I found out about that in the 4th step and the 5th step. Okay. And then you said, you got to try and get rid of all of these things. You got to be entirely ready. Well, how the hell am I going to be entirely ready to get rid of all this stuff? Suggestion. Try doing without the benefits of being angry. Maybe exercising anger lets you get people at work to do what you want them to do. Or maybe gets the wife to do what you want her to do. Okay. What does the anger do to you? Does it quickly turn into resentment? Yeah. Are you ready? Are you entirely ready to get rid of those benefits of anger and gluttony and the other character defects? I want to be. I'm as entirely ready as I can be through my own efforts. And I have to accept the fact that my own efforts ain't good enough and I need help. And I need to ask God to humbly, that's another step, isn't it? I need to accept the fact that I don't have the power to do this on my own. I need to accept the fact that I don't have the power to stay away from these character defects on my own. I need God helping me do it. And I only find out what he is telling me to do by listening to you guys, to what you tell me, how you react to what I say and do, how you react to my behavior. They told me that during my active drinking career, I had hurt some people. And I had to make a list of those people I'd harmed and become entirely, ready to make amends to them all. I didn't want to touch that at all. I didn't want to go near that because it was going to be too embarrassing. You can't expect me to go and grovel and apologize and get on my knees to people. Oh no, I'm a big man. I can't do that. And I was told, hold on 1 second. Okay. We're talking here about making a list. We're not talking about making amends. This is a thing called the 8th step. It has nothing to do with making amends. It has everything to do with making a list. Oh, that's different. Right? See, whoever put this thing together, Bill and Bob and the first 100 people, on the program, they knew that, even though I was a big shot, I was a simple fool and I needed to have this stuff broken down. All right. I needed to make that list without worrying about what was going to happen by making amends. Didn't have to make any amends until I got around to a 9th step. And hey, I did that with my sponsor's advice and some of the things that I should not have made amends for because I was going to hurt somebody while doing it. I didn't. I let them alone. And in most cases, in time, I was able to make those amends. Right? I called into the front office at work one day. New group of managers had come in and they were looking at the records for attendance during the summer of 1960. They said, we noticed you were gone. We couldn't account for your time for about 60 to 70 days. And if you cannot tell us where you were or what happened, we're going to have to let you go. You do good work, but hey, discipline is discipline. My temptation was to tell them during that period of time I was home taking care of the kids, or I was taking care of my sick grandmother. I was going to lie. I didn't do that. I said, during that period of time, I was home, dead drunk in my attic. I am an alcoholic. I haven't had a drink in 6 months, 9 months, whatever the heck it was. I don't remember. And I go to Alcoholics Anonymous. One guy had his feet up on the desk, his foot hit the floor, and he said, my God, that's great. I have a brother who's got a drinking problem. We wish he would do what you did. And the other guy says, yeah, I have an uncle and he's going to drink himself to death. And they finally said, hey, great news. We're glad you're doing that. Go on back to work. And by the way, if you need any time take any time off to go to meetings, just go ahead and do it. How about that? I had not told them up front, earlier about what I was doing, because my sponsor said, don't try to tell anybody about that because you might get fired and your family has to eat. All right. So I followed my sponsor's advice on that. How about that? How about that? I have to take an inventory every day, sometimes more than that. And I find that having done a kind of a fourth step where I've kind of nailed down these character defects of pride, greed, lust, anger, gluttony, envy, and sloth, I'm able to take a look at them today as they are affecting me, right? And identify them and recognize them. And that lets me do a pretty decent 10th step, right? Continue to take a personal inventory. When I'm wrong, promptly admit it. And I find that in that step, right in the middle of the 12 and 12, chapter 10, it's a spiritual axiom that any time that I am wrong or emotionally disturbed, no matter what the reason, I am at fault. That's okay, because I've discovered that there's a lot of other people who share with me the same experience, that they have had the same thing. All right. I'm looking at a bunch of them right now who've already told me that. Right. I'm not alone. This is a lonely disease, so I'm told, and I don't have to be lonely. I pray for God's help. I pray for, meditate, trying to think what he wants me to do. But I have to be ready to accept the power that he gives me. And as long as it's God's power, I'm okay. That's what we got an 11th step, right? To seek through prayer and meditation to improve my conscious contact with God, seeking only his knowledge of his will for me and the power to carry it out. A lot of times I can say, I prayed and I meditated, but it didn't work. I still got this damn problem going on. That's because I failed to accept God's power. There's that word acceptance again. I don't like that. I don't like to accept something. I want to control things. I want to run the show. Okay. Well, this is a spiritual program in my experience. As a matter of fact, step 12 says, having had a spiritual experience as the result of these steps, try to carry this message to alcoholics. There's a lot of ways I've tried to do that over the years. Speaking, okay. I started quite a number of groups. There's a group in California, in Escondido, California, that's still going strong. We call it the Lounge Lizards because we started off meeting in a lounge, okay? And that's the name we gave it, the Lounge Lizards. The group is still going strong. And I've spent a lot of time, holding group offices, secretary, treasurer, intergroup, all that good stuff. Taking my turn making the coffee. Hell, I used to belong to a group in Snellville, Georgia called the Solution Group. I made coffee for several years. And you know something? In spite of the fact that I'm a big shot, you know that, right? I still get a lot out of making coffee. It's good for me. I enjoy it. It's good. Okay. I have the ability to write, and it's a God-given talent. And I've published a lot of stuff. You probably have read a lot of my junk in the grapevine over the years. I don't make a big deal out of it, but I've done it. Okay. I continue to make a lot of 12-step calls. And, I try to practice these principles in all my affairs. I've got a couple of cats in the house. And it's my job every morning to get up and feed those cats. And I enjoy feeding those cats. And they enjoy me feeding them. And then it's also my job to clean out the litter box. And I've got a guy here in Auburn, a good buddy of mine, Howard. And Howard reminds me that I'm supposed to call him before I clean out the litter box. He doesn't like it. His feelings are hurt when I clean out the litter box before I call Howard. Hey, that's his problem. I do both. All right. Make the coffee, let the wife sleep late, bring her a cup of coffee, keep her happy. And hey, I was told when I first, when I came in, that alcoholics cannot stand experience, good experience or bad experience, without this program. But with this program, I have found that I've been able to handle all kinds of experience, good experience and bad. Deaths. I held my late wife as she died. I had taken care of her. for quite a while she was dying. And that wasn't any fun, but thank God I was able to do it. And thank God for this program that has kept me sober, that enabled me to help her die gracefully. I've been fired from a job in sobriety. I started a business in sobriety that failed. I've relocated in sobriety several times. That's always tough. Endured those experiences. Been remarried in sobriety. I've had opportunities to take chances. I used to worry about whether I'm going to succeed or fail. I was told, take those words, success and failure, out of your vocabulary and replace them with honesty and effort. Somebody else told me in the subject of success and failure, they share a common denominator. Both are temporary. Wow. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? Well, I'm going to wrap this thing up here, folks. Hopefully I've told you what it was like and what happened to me and what I do now. You know, I've been retired now 28 years. I don't have time to get everything done that I want to get done. I'm busy. I'm happy. I'm content. Still go to a lot of meetings. I have not been going to in-person meetings because of the COVID. My wife, my present wife, Timmy, she came down with cancer a number of years ago. And thank God she survived that. But her immune system was compromised. And I don't want to go to any place where I could possibly pick something up and bring it home to her. Okay. But I do go to a heck of a lot of Zoom meetings. And I enjoy them. Actually participated in starting a Zoom meeting down here in Auburn about 6 weeks ago. Not too bad a meeting. Okay. It's a program of action. It's not an intellectual program. Sobriety is not an intellectual process. It really isn't. I'm very grateful for everything that you guys do for me. I'm grateful for this program. And this is the last day of November, which is supposed to be the gratitude month. And I'm going to close by just reading you something that I wrote not too long ago. Don't remember exactly when, but one day I was sitting saying to myself, am I grateful? And what am I grateful for? And I call this blessings. I am alive. I'm sober. I'm healthy. I'm loved by a good woman twice. I have family. I have friends, and I care. I can give. I can love, and I can know joy, see beauty, and be grateful. I have enough. I do enough, and I am enough. And now I'm going to shut up.